I thought I knew what love looked like. Madison and I had been together for 3 years, engaged for 6 months, planning a spring wedding. We cooked dinner together on weeknights, walked our dog Buddy on weekends, and talked about the future like it was already ours. Everything felt right until her best friend Trevor moved back to town. Then suddenly I was not supportive enough, not ambitious enough, not enough period. I never imagined the person trying hardest to be her friend was actually working to destroy us from the inside. Before I get into what happened, let me know where you are watching from. And if you have ever dealt with someone trying to sabotage your relationship, hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, you will want to hear how this all played out. Madison and I met 3 years ago at a coffee shop downtown on a rainy Tuesday morning. She was struggling with her laptop bag and a cup of tea that was about to spill. I caught the cup before it hit the ground and she laughed, saying that was the smoothest save she had seen all week. We started talking, and I learned she worked in marketing for a tech startup and had just moved to the city 6 months before. She was smart, independent, and had this way of making everything feel lighter. We exchanged numbers, and by the end of that week, we had gone on 2 dates. Our relationship grew naturally. We moved in together after a year, splitting a 2-bedroom apartment near downtown, with exposed brick walls and big windows that let in morning light. I worked in IT for a mid-sized company, nothing glamorous but stable and decent paying. Madison loved her job and threw herself into every campaign like it was the most important thing in the world. We were not flashy people. We were the couple who stayed in on Friday nights cooking pasta and watching old movies, who took Buddy to the dog park every Sunday, who saved money instead of chasing Instagram-worthy vacations. I proposed last fall on a Thursday evening. Nothing fancy, no big production. We were sitting on the couch after dinner, and I just knew it was time. I got down on one knee right there in our living room, with Buddy watching from his bed in the corner. Madison cried and said yes before I even finished asking. We started planning a small wedding, just family and close friends, something intimate and meaningful. Everything felt perfect. We were building something real. Then Trevor came back into the picture. Madison had known him since college. They were close back then, part of the same friend group, but they had lost touch over the years. He moved across the country for work, and they only exchanged occasional texts on birthdays. Last month, Trevor got transferred back to our city for a new position in finance. Madison was excited to reconnect with an old friend. I understood that. I wanted her to be happy. The first time I met Trevor was at a dinner we hosted at our apartment. He showed up in a tailored suit, even though we said it was casual, carrying an expensive bottle of wine. He was polished, confident, the kind of guy who made strong eye contact and had a firm handshake. We sat around our small dining table, and I tried to make conversation. Trevor asked a lot of questions about me. What did I do for work? How much did professionals typically make? Did I have plans to move up in my company? What were my long-term career goals? It felt less like getting to know me, and more like an interview I had not signed up for. Madison explained later that Trevor had always been protective of her. He was an only child and treated his close friends like family. I tried to see it that way, as concern rather than judgment, but something about the way he looked at me that night made me uncomfortable, like he was calculating whether I measured up to some standard I did not know existed. After that dinner, Trevor started coming around more often. 2 or 3 times a week, he would stop by after work or suggest meeting Madison for coffee. At first, I did not mind. Madison deserved to have friends. But every time Trevor visited, he found little ways to undercut me. He would make comments that sounded like jokes but had edges to them. Things like, "Madison, are you sure you do not need someone who earns more to cover wedding costs?" Or, "Jarrett, do you have any plans to advance your career? IT is pretty competitive these days." Once he even said, "Madison mentioned you forgot your anniversary last year. Right, Jarrett?" That must have been rough. Madison would laugh and tell me Trevor was just teasing, that it was his sense of humor. I tried to brush it off. I did not want to seem insecure or jealous, but the comments added up. They were small cuts that started to sting. One night, Trevor suggested he and Madison go to dinner alone to catch up properly. Madison agreed without hesitation. She got home around 11 that night, later than I expected. I asked how it went, trying to sound casual. She said Trevor had been telling her about his new job, how successful he was, becoming how he was already being considered for another promotion. There was something in her voice, a kind of admiration that made my stomach turn. After that dinner, things started to shift. Madison began questioning little things about our life together. Why did I not go to the gym more often? Why was not I more ambitious about my career? Why did we not travel as much as other couples? We knew I tried to explain that we were saving money for the wedding and our future, that we had goals we were working toward together. She would nod, but then say, Trevor says truly successful men know how to balance everything. It was always Trevor says this, or Trevor thinks that. His voice was becoming louder in our relationship than my own. I finally tried to talk to her about it. I told her I felt like Trevor was planting doubts in her mind that he was not being the supportive friend he claimed to be. Madison got defensive immediately. She said Trevor just wanted what was best for her, that he could see things clearly because he was on the outside looking in. She said maybe I was the one being insecure, that I should be glad she had someone who cared enough to be honest with her. I felt the ground shifting beneath us, and I did not know how to stop it. 3 weeks after Trevor reappeared in our lives, everything collapsed. It was a Friday night, and Madison had gone out to meet Trevor again. I stayed home, made dinner her favorite pasta with garlic bread. I set the table, lit a candle, and waited. She came home after 10 looking exhausted, her shoulders tight, her eyes distant. I smiled and told her I had made her favorite meal. She looked at the table and said, "You always do this. You always try to make everything look perfect." I did not understand. I asked what she meant, told her I just wanted her to feel cared for. That was when she exploded. She said that was the problem, that I was too controlling, too focused on managing her emotions. She said Trevor had pointed out that I was gaslighting her, that I was manipulating her into thinking everything was fine when it was not. The word hit me like a punch. Gaslighting. I asked her if she really believed that, if she truly thought I was manipulating her. She started listing things Trevor had told her. He said I controlled our finances, which was not true. We split bills evenly and made financial decisions together. He said I isolated her from her friends, which was absurd. I always encouraged her to go out to maintain her friendships. He said I lacked ambition, that I was holding her back from the life she deserved. I tried to explain each point to show her how Trevor had twisted the truth. But every time I spoke, she said Trevor warned me you would have excuses. He said toxic people always have explanations for everything. The conversation went in circles until after midnight. I was exhausted, hurt, and starting to realize I was losing a battle I had not known I was fighting. Madison went to bed in the guest room that night. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out how 3 years of love and trust had unraveled so quickly. The next few days were agony. Madison was cold and distant. She avoided me, spent most of her time in the guest room or out of the apartment. I saw her phone light up constantly with texts and calls from Trevor. I tried to talk to her to suggest we go to couples therapy, that we work through this together. She said Trevor told her therapy was just another way toxic people. Yan Chang, Yan Chang, Yan Chang. Yan Chang manipulation. I felt helpless. Trevor had built a wall between us, and Madison was standing on his side. I tried to reach Trevor directly to confront him and ask what he was trying to accomplish. He did not answer my calls. He sent a single text that said, "Madison needs someone who understands her. Clearly that is not you." I stared at those words for a long time. It was not concern. It was a claim. He was telling me he was taking her, and there was nothing I could do about it. A week after our big fight, Madison made her announcement. It was a Monday morning before work. She stood in the kitchen while I was making coffee and said she needed to move out for a while, that she needed to clear her head. I asked if she was serious, reminded her we were engaged, that we were supposed to be planning a future. She said that was the problem, that Trevor had helped her realize she rushed into this relationship too fast, that she needed space to figure out what she really wanted. I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me. I asked where she would go. She said Trevor had a spare room, that he offered to let her stay with him. That was when I finally understood the full picture. Trevor had not been trying to protect Madison. He had been working to take her from me. I said it out loud, told her Trevor had been manipulating her from the beginning, that he wanted to break us up. She got angry, said I was being paranoid, that Trevor was just being a good friend. I asked her point blank if she really believed I was toxic, controlling, manipulative. She hesitated, and for a moment I thought she might see through it. But then she said, "I do not know anymore. I just know I need distance." That weekend, Madison packed her things. I watched her move through our apartment, pulling clothes from the closet, gathering her laptop and personal items. She left the engagement ring on the kitchen table. I stared at it sitting there, this small piece of metal that was supposed to represent forever. Trevor came to pick her up in his new BMW. I stood at the window and watched him load her bags into the trunk. He looked up at me and smiled. It was not friendly. It was victorious. I knew then that every move had been calculated. He had won, and he wanted me to know it. After she left, I sat in the apartment alone. Buddy lay next to me on the couch, sensing something was wrong. I replayed the last few weeks in my mind, every conversation, every accusation. I realized I had not done anything wrong. Everything Trevor said about me was a twisted version of reality, designed to make Madison doubt me. I had loved her, supported her, built a life with her, and she had chosen to believe someone else. That first night alone, I made a decision. I was not going to chase Madison. I was not going to beg or plead or try to convince her to come back. If she wanted to clear her head with Trevor, she could deal with the consequences of that choice. I would respect myself enough to let her go. The next morning, I called a locksmith. The apartment lease was in my name. Madison's name was on it too, but she had voluntarily left. I checked the lease agreement carefully. It stated that if one tenant left voluntarily, the remaining tenant had the right to change locks for security reasons. I called the apartment management and explained the situation. They confirmed I was within my rights. By noon, the locks were changed. I had new keys, and Madison's old ones would not work anymore. Then I started packing her remaining belongings. I was not angry or vindictive. I just wanted clean boundaries. I boxed up everything she had left behind. Clothes she did not take, books, small decorations. I rented a storage unit across town and moved everything there carefully. I did not damage anything. I took the high road because that was who I was, even if she could not see it anymore. While I was packing, I found her old iPad tucked under some magazines. It was still logged into her messages. I knew I should not look, but I needed to understand what had happened. I opened the conversation with Trevor and scrolled back through months of texts. What I found made everything clear. Trevor had been planting seeds of doubt for months long before he started openly criticizing me. Messages like, "Are you sure Jarrett is the one?" and "You deserve someone more ambitious, and does Jarrett seem controlling about money to you?" He had been systematic patient, slowly building a case against me in Madison's mind. I took screenshots, not because I planned to use them, but because I wanted evidence of the truth. I saw clearly now that Trevor had feelings for Madison. This was never about protecting a friend. This was about eliminating competition. Then I did something that felt both petty and completely justified. I sat down and calculated Madison's share of our living expenses. Rent was $1,500 a month, so her half was $750. Utilities were about $100. I estimated groceries she had consumed before leaving at $200. Her share of internet and streaming services was $50. We had adopted Buddy together, so pet care costs were $75. The total came to $1,175 for the month. I created a professional-looking invoice. At the top, I wrote living expenses invoice, Madison's share. I listed every item with dates and amounts. At the bottom, I added a note. Since Trevor knows best about how I manage finances and seems eager to support you in all ways, I am forwarding your living expenses to him. He clearly has the resources and wisdom to handle this better than I ever could. Please find attached the bill for your share of our living costs. Storage unit information for your belongings is included. New keys are not available as you voluntarily left our shared residence. I attached scanned receipts and the relevant sections of our lease agreement. Then I sent the email to both Madison and Trevor, copying myself for records. When I hit send, I felt strangely calm. This was not revenge. This was setting boundaries. If Trevor wanted to be the hero, he could handle the reality of what that meant. For 3 days, there was silence. No response from either of them. I focused on my life. I went to work, hit the gym, reached out to friends I had been neglecting. Buddy seemed happier with our new routine, which was ironic. My best friend Kyle came over that weekend. I told him everything. He said, "Dude, you did the right thing. She needs to figure this out herself." You cannot save someone who does not want to see the truth. On day 4, Madison texted, "Why did you change the locks?" I replied simply, "You left. Trevor has a place for you. Check your email for details on your belongings." She wrote back, "This is ridiculous. I just needed space." I answered, "You have space now, and Trevor has your expenses covered, right?" She did not respond after that. On day 8, my phone rang with a number I did not recognize. The voicemail was from Trevor. His voice sounded frustrated, strained. "Look, man, we need to talk about this bill situation," I texted back without calling. "There is nothing to talk about. Madison chose to leave. You offered to house her. These are her financial obligations. Since you advised her so well on my toxicity, I assumed you would handle this gracefully." He tried calling again the next day. I blocked his number. On day 10, Madison called. She was crying. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. I asked what was wrong, keeping my voice neutral. She said Trevor was being difficult, that he was angry about money. I reminded her I had sent the bill to him because he seemed to know everything about our relationship, so I figured he could handle the responsibilities too. She said he was demanding she pay him back for letting her stay there. I told her that seemed reasonable, that she was an adult with living expenses. She said, "But I thought," and then trailed off. I asked what she thought, that running away would have no consequences. She broke down completely then. She said Trevor was not who she thought he was. She explained that he had made moves on her, told her he had always had feelings for her. When she rejected him, he became cold and demanding. The friend support had turned into expectations, into debts he felt she owed him. I listened without interrupting. She said I had been right, that Trevor had wanted to break us up all along. I simply said, "I know." Then she asked if she could come home. I told her we needed to meet in person to talk, not at the apartment, somewhere neutral. We met at the coffee shop where we first met 3 years ago. It felt symbolic in a painful way. Madison looked exhausted. Her hair was messy, dark circles under her eyes. She apologized immediately, tears streaming down her face. She said she had been stupid, that she believed everything Trevor said without questioning it. She explained how Trevor had twisted every conversation, made her doubt her own judgment about me and our relationship. When she moved in with him, his true intentions became clear. He expected a romantic relationship, acted like she owed him something for his help. When she refused, he became hostile, calculating nothing like the supportive friend he had pretended to be. She realized the toxic person had been Trevor all along. She said she threw away 3 years for 2 weeks of hell. I listened to all of it. Then I spoke honestly. I told her she did throw it away. She chose to believe someone she barely reconnected with over someone who had loved her consistently for 3 years. She said she was sorry, asked if we could fix this. I paused for a long time before answering. I told her I did not know yet. I said she had not just left. She had accused me of being toxic, controlling, manipulative. Those words hurt more than her leaving ever could. She nodded, crying harder. I continued. I told her I needed time. Now time to figure out if I could ever trust her again. She said that was fair, that she understood. I gave her the key and address for the storage unit where her belongings were. She asked what would happen with us. I said I did not know. Maybe someday, but not now. On day 14, Trevor showed up at my workplace. Security called me, said someone named Trevor was in the lobby asking to see me. I went down, curious what desperate move this was. Trevor looked nothing like the polished guy who had smiled smugly from his car 2 weeks ago. He looked disheveled, frustrated, defeated. He said I needed to take Madison back, that she was driving him crazy. I crossed my arms and told him that was not my problem. He said she cried all the time, did not clean up after herself, expected him to pay for everything. I told him that sounded like responsibility, that he wanted to save her from me, so now he could deal with what he created. He got angry, said this was my fault. I stayed calm. I told him no, this was his fault. He had manipulated my fiancée, tried to steal her, and now he could not handle the reality of who she actually was versus who he imagined. I said he wanted to play hero, and heroes do not get to complain when things get hard. He tried to argue. I cut him off. I told him we were done, not to contact me again. Then I added, next time you try to sabotage someone's relationship, make sure you can actually handle the person you are trying to steal. I walked away and left him standing alone in the lobby. A month passed. I moved forward with my life. Madison had moved back in with her parents, trying to rebuild. She texted occasionally, apologizing, hoping. I stayed polite but distant. I went on a few dates, nothing serious. I focused on work and got promoted to a senior position. I adopted another dog, a rescue named Scout, to keep Buddy company. Life was actually better in many unexpected ways. My friends admired how I handled everything. Kyle told me I had shown everyone how to set boundaries without being cruel. I thought about that a lot. Madison had shown me that love without trust means nothing. Trevor had shown me that not everyone has good intentions, even when they claim to care. The whole experience taught me that when someone shows you who they are, you should believe them the first time. If Madison had trusted me, if our foundation had been stronger, outside influence would not have mattered. If Trevor had been a real friend, he would have supported Madison's happiness instead of undermining it for his own gain. Both of them made choices that revealed their character. I made a choice too. I chose to respect myself enough to walk away. Now, I sit in my apartment, truly my own space. I kept the engagement ring she left behind in a drawer. I am not sad or angry when I think about it anymore, just peaceful. I learned that sometimes losing the person you love is how you discover who you actually are. I learned that manipulation often comes from people claiming to protect you. I learned that real love means trusting your partner's character over outside opinions. I learned that setting boundaries is not cruel, it is necessary. I learned you cannot save someone who refuses to see the truth. And I learned that walking away with dignity is more powerful than fighting to prove yourself. Madison eventually stopped texting. Her last message said, "I understand if you never forgive me, but thank you for showing me what real respect looks like. I am sorry I did not see it when I had it. I never replied. Some chapters close quietly, and I'm okay with that. Life goes on better and wiser. Sometimes the best way to show someone your worth is to let them go and watch them realize what they lost." I did not need to fight for Madison. I just needed to respect myself enough to walk away. And in the end, that was the most powerful thing I could have done. Not for her, but for me. Have you ever had someone try to sabotage your relationship? How did you handle it? Drop your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real stories about standing up for yourself. Share this with someone who needs to hear that walking away with dignity is not giving up. It is choosing yourself. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it reminds you that your peace is worth more than anyone's opinion. Stay strong out there.